Among the millions of tributes pouring in for General Colin Powell, from the high and mighty to the common man, this one stands out. I learned from him you have to do good all the time, even when you don't think people are looking. That, from a chance meeting Anthony Maggart had with General Colin Powell in January of 2019 on the shoulder of the Washington Beltway. As Powell told it, my left front tire blew out. I'm a car guy and I knew I could change it. I jacked the car up and got several of the bolts removed when a car suddenly pulled up. It was Maggart, an Iraq and Afghanistan war vet and amputee. Powell later wrote, he finished the job. Then we both hurried off to appointments at Walter Reed. That night, Maggart sent Powell this message. General Powell, I hope I never forget today because I'll never forget reading your books. You were always an inspiration, a leader, and a statesman. After 33 years in the military, you were the giant whose shoulders we stood upon to carry the torch, to light the way. And now it is tomorrow's generation that must do the same. Anthony Maggart. Powell responded, thanks, Anthony. You touched my soul and reminded me what this country is all about and why it is so great. Let's stop screaming at each other. Let's just take care of each other. You made my day. In the spirit of America's great generals, from Washington to Omar Bradley to Eisenhower, Powell had a genuine affection for the soldier whose fate hung on his orders. The Powell Doctrine, honed from the young officer's experience in America's losing effort at Vietnam, dictated that military force be used only in the U.S. national interest, with overwhelming force to maximize success and minimize casualties. It saw its fruition in the only true large-scale U.S. victory since World War II, 1991's Operation Desert Storm, a period when Powell, known for his expert briefings and a commanding personal presence, was at the height of his power.
And I'd like to do that by first reminding you of the military operational objective that we set out to accomplish, and that is simply to eject the Iraqi army from Kuwait. All of our activities must ultimately support this fundamental military objective.
In another briefing, he described the objective as a snake. First, we're going to cut it off, and then we're going to kill it, he said. In 2003, as Secretary of State during the George W. Bush administration, Powell suffered what was to become arguably his greatest political wound.
Indeed, the facts and Iraq's behavior show that Saddam Hussein and his regime are concealing their efforts to produce more weapons of mass destruction. None of this should come as a surprise to any of us.
Ultimately, no weapons of mass destruction were found, in effect undermining the very reason for the Second Gulf War. Powell later said he regretted the UN speech because the intelligence turned out to be wrong. In one of his memoirs, he offered 13 points of advice. The first two were, 1, it ain't as bad as you think. It will look better in the morning. And the second, get mad, then get over it. In that is a lesson for today's divided political landscape. Powell never succumbed to extremes, remaining a moderate. On the recommendation of his wife Alma, he chose not to run for president in 2016, a fateful decision. He later lamented how his Republican Party under Donald Trump had sunk into the mud and had gone fringe. Powell kept friendships across the aisle, always believing there is more that unites than divides us. An example of that détente executed here on Jay Leno's Garage.
So for Christmas last year, unbeknownst to me, I'm going to my son's house, and there, sitting there in the garage, is a brand new 2015 with a Christmas bow on top of it, and the whole family. It's a present from the kids. I said, that is so cool. You know, I love you kids so much, and I'm so glad you love me. And on Tuesday, they sent me the friggin' bill. Hey.
Is this wise?
Try to keep up as best you can, Mr. Vice President.
Title for title.
You're on.
I can't find a title, but... This is starting to turn ugly.
Ready? You want a head start? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just incredible to see two of the nation's most important guys leaving their mark on the world and on the pavement. Fellas! Makes me proud to be an American.
In his last recorded interview with Bob Woodward, Powell confided his cancer diagnosis, but heeded his last 13th point of advice. Quote, perpetual optimism is a force multiplier.
Well, you see, I've got to go to the hospital about 2 or 3 times a week. I've got multiple myeloma cancer, and I've got Parkinson's disease, but otherwise I'm fine.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry.
Don't say no, and don't feel sorry for me. For God's sake, I'm 85 years old. Got to have something.
Well,
And I haven't lost a day of life fighting these 2 diseases. I'm in good shape.
Powell's greatest legacy may be the standard he set for leadership, a standard that some new leader will have to meet if our republic is to survive and thrive. That vet on the roadside, Anthony Maggart, knew it exactly when he wrote to Powell, quote, you were the giant whose shoulders we stood upon to carry the torch, to light the way. And now it is tomorrow's generation that must do the same. Doug McKelway for the Washington Examiner.